Hey, guess what, everybody? It's mailbag time here on Call It What You Want. So hit like and subscribe, and let's get after it. Hi, hello, and welcome to your favorite Average to Good podcast, Call It What You Want. I'm Jimmy Conrad, alongside two legends of the game, especially here in the States, Brian McBride and Charlie Davies. Guys, we got a big show. We got mailbag questions to answer. We got Americans abroad. We got some guys winning trophies. We got our own awards, the American Abroad Award show that we got cooking, which is going to be nice. But first, let's call it what you want. Word of the day. You guys ready for this?
Born ready.
Born ready.
I'm so ready for Charlie to help me through this without him knowing that he's helping me.
Charlie, I love that. I love that. All right. So for this week's word, we're focusing on the worst thing one player can do to another. It's called the nutmeg. Well, okay. Brian might have a different definition of that after being elbowed in the face plenty of times. Yeah. But we're going to go with the nutmeg. And in this part of the world, the nutmeg is known as Sulia. So anybody listening at home, Charlie, Brian, chime in. What language is this? Or what country is this from?
Okay.
Sulia is known as a nutmeg.
I'm thinking South America. I don't want to say it, but I'm thinking South America, Brian.
Okay, early guess, Brian. Where are you going early guess? And I'll give you the clues.
I'm going more Middle Eastern.
Okay, all right, here we go.
I'm going more Eastern European, to be honest.
Okay. This men's national team has been crowned Africa Cup of Nations champions 4 times. So AFCON champs 4 times. The last time coming in 1982. One more for you. This country's U20 team is known as the Black Satellites.
Black Satellites. Wow.
That's U20 team. That's the
So satellites, it has to be a youth.
AFCON champs 4 times. The last time coming to 1982.
Charlie's looking up on his car.
He is.
Up on his computer right now. Yeah. I saw it. I saw your hands moving.
All right, what do you guys got?
First, I was going to go Morocco.
Okay.
But 82, they won it before. They won it since then, so it can't be Morocco.
I like that process of elimination.
Rules out Egypt. Rules out Nigeria. Cameroon, Ghana, no. Could be Tunisia. No,
I thought you guys were gonna get this a little quicker.
No,
yeah,
it's not South Africa. I'm trying to think of the powerhouses here.
Well, I mean the Black Satellites is the interesting one.
It is
throwing me the.
If you link in that with another nickname for a particular national team, it makes a lot of sense. I'm sure people playing at home already got it. So fair play to everybody who got it at home.
All right, I'm gonna go with Ghana because Cosmos, I think, is what they're affiliated with. The Cosmos.
I was gonna say that, but I won't say that since you said that. So I will go with
because of the stars. So I think it's satellite, stars, space, galaxy. I'm gonna go with Ghana.
Yeah.
Brian, I'm going to cut you off. It's Ghana, everybody. It's Ghana.
Yeah.
That's the answer. Sulia is a nutmeg in Ghana. So everybody's got to use that moving forward into their.
Well done.
Put that into your vernacular.
And by the way, the nutmeg is not the worst thing that can happen to you. People, they nutmeg you, and then the ball goes to my.
No.
I'm like, hey,
Brian, it's okay if we get nutmeg. It's okay if we get. It's when Jimmy gets nutmegged because then it's in the back of the net. So there's the difference. For us, we're not defenders. Who cares?
That's right, Jimmy. Shut your legs, man. Shut your legs.
McBrizzle, listen, I'll say this. Getting Meg does suck. But I agree with you ultimately that if people do it and then they don't connect the pass or it doesn't lead to something positive afterwards and doesn't even really matter, I agree with you on that.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Exactly.
All right, let's get into Americans abroad. We have a recap for the weekends. And one of the big ones was Tanner Tessman scoring a golazo for Venezia as they advance to the final now against Cremonese. Question for you guys really quick. How do you feel about 2-legged finals? Because they're taking on Cremonese over 2 legs. Do you think that's the best way to decide who gets promoted to a particular league? Or do you like the one? Because we saw it in the Clausura as well. And we're going to talk about Copa America here.
I feel like if you're talking about getting the absolute best team to move up, I'm okay with two-legged finals.
Okay.
I'm okay with it.
All right.
I get the whole final, like one match, everything on the line, but you can tend to. I think that's why we've seen the Champions League in Europe, actually in general, move away from the away goals rule.
Right.
I think over two legs, ultimately,
You'll find out who the better team is.
Goes through. Yeah,
I respect
it. I completely agree with Charlie, but I do think I think the away goals rule actually should work, because it changes the way a team is set up. If you're going away from home and the away, you don't need to score if you make it a 0-0, it changes the whole dynamic of that two-legged final. If you're not going to do away goals that matter, and this is my opinion, I think then it should just be a one-off, because you're going to set your team up to play how you would normally play.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have the away goals that matter, you're going to get teams that are going to go and play the way they want to play and normally play, maybe a little bit more reserved, but you're still going to set yourself up to at least try and win the game, rather than try and make sure that they don't win the game.
Well, that's the thing, Brian. I always thought that when there was away goals, the away team was always most likely set up to just counter, and they'd sit back and counter and try and 1-0 the game. Whereas if you feel that over two legs away goals don't matter, you can play the way you're going to play in both legs, knowing that, hey, at least if they score on us in the home leg, in the second leg, then we're good. We don't have to worry about that. We can play our own way, as opposed to these away goals matter so much. So let's just sit back and counter and execute on that free kick or set piece, because we know that away goal is gold.
I think something that I like. Go ahead, Brian. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Jimmy. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to add that what I like about the one-off, I guess if maybe for a promotion playoff like we're seeing over two legs, that makes a lot of sense to me, because you want to see the best team, and this is probably the best way to do it. They both get 90 minutes in front of their home fans. But in a one-off, let's say like MLS Cup, or even in the Clausura in Mexico, the team that had the better regular season should be rewarded for that. So I like that they get to host that game. It gives a little bit more emphasis on that. But maybe that's my looking through the MLS goggles right now. But go ahead, Brian. What were you gonna say?
No, I do like that part too. I think it is a one-off. It should be rewarded for the team. The only thing I was going to just counter with Charlie is the fact that that you're exactly right, Charlie. If you're the better team, if you're going in it and you're not the better team, that away leg matters so much that you can't just sit back and counter unless that's how you play. Like if your team's set up to play that way, you love it, right? Because then you're like, hey, this is perfect, because we know they're going to come and attack us. I just feel that the away goals, in Champions League, it would have been so much different, so much more different, especially in Europa League, the away goal part of it, if it counted. Can you imagine what those games would have been like, especially in the quarterfinal when it was like goal?
Yeah,
right.
So, anyways,
yeah, no. It's a good conversation to have. Cremonese is going to host the first leg of this playoff on Thursday, May 30th against Venezia, and then Venezia will be hosting leg 2 on Sunday, June 2nd. So he goes back up to Serie. That's pretty exciting. Let's give a shout out to Cameron Carter-Vickers, wins the Scottish Cup final 1-0 over Rangers, an Old Firm derby in the Scottish Cup final. That is his 7th trophy, Cameron Carter-Vickers, with Celtic over the last 3 years. Well played to him. Club America won the Clausura. Alex Zendejas, his 3rd Liga MX title, going back-to-back for Club America, who now have 15 all-time, which is 3 more than their rival Chivas. I guess the question is, very quickly, and Brian, I'll come to you on this, what does Alex Zendejas need to do to get back on a U.S. men's national team roster? Because clearly he's having a lot of success. He's a trusted player. He's played, 96% of the minutes over the last couple seasons. Clearly a pivotal player, but when it comes to the U.S. team, doesn't seem to have the same type of impact.
Yeah, I think what it comes down to is when he gets his opportunity, he has to show well. And it's not just like him showing well with the ball. It's about, making sure that he understands how Greg wants him to play in the team. And when he's come in, he has not shown that. And so the club side of it is always going to be the avenue to get back into it. Mm-hmm. But at this point in time, he hasn't shown to where he can actually help this team in big competitions. So you're not going to see him in this. Maybe, if he continues to play well, maybe you bring him in for a Nations League game, and then hopefully that continuation of time with this group will help him sort of show his talent, because it wasn't just the men's national team. With the U23s, he didn't show well. So all those things put together, I think, is the reason why he's not a part of this group. Doesn't mean he can't make it. It just means when he gets his opportunity, he has to play like he's playing in Liga MX.
We'll see if he gets that opportunity once again. I want to give a shout out to Luis Malagón in goal for Club America. Excellent. He made so many world-class saves in the final against Cruz Azul, and he's now the number 1 for Mexico going into Copa America. Memo Ochoa not getting called in because they believe in Malagón, and I believe in him as well. What a hell of a goalkeeper. And Mexico has a long run. He's going to be a big reason why. And last note that we have before we get into our end of the season awards for Americans abroad, our team of the season will be first. AC Milan finally announced that they're going to sack Stefano Pioli. Paulo Fonseca is linked to the job. Christian Pulisic obviously revitalized his career, Chuck, under Pioli. Probably a little bit disappointed to see him go, but I think that Christian has done enough that it's not like he needs Pioli to continue to have his back to get playing time. I think obviously he validated why he got signed in the first place.
100%. I think with all players, you get into a rhythm with a coach, and I think we can all talk about some of the favorite coaches that we've had in our career. You understand what the coach wants from you. You understand where you can ad lib on the pitch, where he's not necessarily going to hold it against you if you try certain things in certain parts of the field, what he likes, what he expects. And then once that's a perfect marriage, when that symmetry is there, it's a wonderful spot to be in, when you have the complete trust of the coach and the coach has complete trust in you. When that separates and you're forced to have, build this new relationship with a coach, I think it really depends on how you finish that season. Where do your teammates feel that you are? Where do the fans feel that you are? And I think Christian Pulisic did an incredible job of, no matter what coach was coming in to AC Milan locker room, he had already earned his respect and he earned his place in the team, that it's solidified, that there's no questions asked. Now it's up to him to continue that, right? It's the consistency in that position, but how can he build? How can he continue to get better and be more effective, which is where we all want to see him get to that place where, is Christian Pulisic considered world-class? I think we all think he has the potential to get there. And this is a wonderful, I think, stepping point from him to continue to build off of his tremendous first season in Serie A.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see who comes in and then how they expect to utilize Christian moving forward. We're going to talk about him, obviously, a little bit more because we got some end of the season awards. We're going to start with our team of the season. Now, to give everybody some context, we were all asked, all three of us, to put together our team of the season. Then we mashed all those together, and I don't actually know what the final results are. So I
have no idea either. I'm curious what you guys would think.
What the starting 11 is here with this particular group. I thought we were going to get a full page, but I'm not sure. Oh, here we go.
Okay.
All right, they were all very similar, according to producer Dez.
Literally,
this is my best 11. Oh, this is mine. This is mine.
Hey, this is my team.
This is your team too? We're the same team?
Literally. Okay. Oh no, sorry. One off.
I have one. I have one difference.
I have one off. I have
two. I have two.
I have Cameron Carter-Vickers instead of Mark McKenzie. That's
okay, let me read it out. I got Horvath in goal. Kind of because he's the only guy that played. We got Anthony Robinson, obviously took big steps. I'm being honest. Mark McKenzie, I thought, again, another player that's taken some big steps. Cameron Carter-Vickers just hurt for a little while, obviously winning trophies when it mattered. Chris Richards, Serginho Dest, McKinney, and Cardoso will be in midfield. Malik Tillman ahead of them. Haji Wright on one side, Christian Pulisic on the other, and Josh Sargent up top. And Chuck, you said you had Cameron Carter-Vickers in for Mark McKenzie.
That's it. Yep.
All right.
Otherwise, we're spot on.
All right. And then I like that. That means great minds think alike. And Brian, you said you had.
Oh boy, he's gonna Shaq. He's gonna have Shaq Moore in there.
Yunus Musa is your change. Whoa! Explain yourself.
Oh, listen, Brian.
Listen. This is everything to do about a guy who's been put in a situation that he's playing different positions at different times. When he played there, when he played there for AC Milan, he did so well. So listen, I know people are going to argue that the difference for Musa is the fact that his distribution is still on the uptick. He needs to improve the ability to spray balls to different sides. Listen, when he came in for AC Milan, especially when they had some injuries, in my opinion, I thought he did extremely well.
Okay,
but team of the year, McBrizzle,
Cardoso, Johnny. Listen, Johnny made strides. I agree with you.
He's up
Johnny
for
made strides.
23
I
young
hear you,
player
but
of the year in La
even
Liga.
if you really wanted to dig deep here, Tanner Tessman deserves to get in that team.
Yeah, so
over Yunus Musa in terms of playing time and impact.
That's probably
and
right.
influence.
That's probably right.
But I'm with you because I know how you feel about Yunus Musa is the same way I feel about Yunus Musa. He is a special, gifted player, similar to Darlington Nagbe in the way when he gets the ball, he's not losing it. It's the ball stuck to his foot. Can he be better and this is his problem. He's not excellent at the attacking part of the game in terms of the numbers, goal scoring, assists. Maybe it's what we've seen from Darlington all these years, get the ball and keep possession, being able to play it to him under pressure. He's not going to lose it, break lines.
Exactly.
Great.
Yep.
But where he needs to really improve and progress his game is when he gets into the attacking third, what are his decision makings? How is he more cutthroat? Because it feels like he's such a team player and he's so humble that he's always like, I'm not going to do it. I've done my job. Now you guys do it. And he's so unselfish. He needs a little bit more of that. I'm going to take this game. I'm going to be the decisive one.
And I completely agree with you in that final end product of making that killer pass, right? He's still needs to add goals, as you pointed out. But his ability to say, all right, give me the ball, and the breaking lines part is all like him doing it individually, which is a very, very unique and special talent because not many people can do it, especially in the middle of the park. Listen, you're on the wing, you have the sideline as your friend, so you can go at players and know that if I make a tackle, I lose it, it's going to go out of bounds. Yunus has this ability to ride tackles and then explode past players and bring himself into a more attacking part of the game. But it's that last ball, it's that next pass after you make this special play that he needs to improve on. But you ask him to do something, he will do it, no questions asked, and he will make it look easy. And that's the part where I think people don't see. You don't see him how he works defensively, how he can win tackles and he puts himself in positions to allow him to make it look easy. And that's why I think he's great.
Oh, listen,
your point about Tessman, I think he's a player that has probably grown the most. I know we're going to get into awards, but I didn't have him as that. But the difference is the fact that it's still Division II, so it's your second. That's the part where hopefully we get a chance to see both the guys in Serie A, but that's probably why he wasn't a part of this.
Well, I do know this. Tanner Tessman, there were scouts from Napoli and Bologna at the game against Palermo, excuse me, in the second leg of that. So there's a lot of interest. It's looking like Bologna could be a real destination for him. A little disappointed probably that Thiago Motta is going elsewhere and leaving what he built at that club. I thought Busio was actually very good in that game against Palermo as well. Had 3 very good chances. Unfortunately, didn't put one on goal, but got a nice save. So Busio's been busy as well, joining that attack. I just want to state for the record, just to chime in on Yunus Musa, I have Yunus Musa pajamas. Love the guy. I think he's a fantastic player. I just thought that, and maybe this, in fairness to him, maybe he was getting asked to do things from Pioli and the coaching staff from Milan that didn't maybe showcase necessarily what we love about his particular game. And maybe he was asked. We saw him play it right back at one point later on in the season. And so maybe they were handcuffing him to really getting after it. That said, he still hasn't demonstrated that final pass consistently. We've obviously seen it every once in a while, but that's when he'll become an ultimate game changer. All right, we're going to take our first break and call it what you want. When we come back, we're going to get into individual awards. So you're not going to want to miss this.
The UEFA Champions League final. This is as big as it gets. This is the final round. The kings of the Champions League. They are Real Madrid. This is the battleground. Dortmund are into the Champions League final. I can't believe it. We can't believe it. They're gonna stop me now. This is the final round. All his dreams coming true.
Dortmund versus Real Madrid in the UEFA Champions League final. Streaming live on Paramount Plus.
Welcome back, everybody. Call it what you want. Jimmy alongside Chuku and McBrizzle, and we are getting after it. That's a deep cut. That was one of our early word of the day is Chuku. And so I had to give him a shout out once I saw
South Korea. Shout out to South Korea. Shout out to Jesse Marsh, who was flirting with the idea of managing South Korea.
We'll get into that. We have a mailbag episode coming for you. We're going to answer a few of your questions, but we got to finish our awards. We're going to start with Player of the Season. We were all asked to give 3 names, and whoever got the most votes, and I think this was a pretty obvious one, Christian Pulisic. I already heard from Chuck about this. Brian, why is he your pick for Player of the Season?
The all comps is wrong, by the way. He didn't have 12 goals. He had 15 all comps.
Okay.
It makes it look a little bit better.
Anybody's seen the graphic?
He had 12 goals in Serie. Yeah.
All right, take it away, Brian.
Yeah, no, you look at a player of the year, player of season. It comes down to the body of work. It doesn't matter what you did last season. It doesn't matter, the talent you have. It has everything to do with how you play that season, and all the credit belongs to Christian. And knowing you're making a move to a huge club from a huge club. There's a lot of question marks. There's a lot of issues, or not issues, but a lot of people thinking, does he really fit in an AC Milan team? And he showed it completely. And, he played on the right side. And that situation was a different challenge for him. He hadn't played on the right side for a while now, right? At Chelsea, they moved him to the left side. With the US, he plays on the left side. And for a player with his ability in tight spaces is great. But he showed that not only can he run in behind, not only can he play in tight spaces, he can cut in and use his left foot and score. And at the same time, he can bring teammates in. I mean, this is what you want from what we consider our best player in the U.S. national team, but for him to do it at AC Milan in the first season is special.
I agree, and I actually think that it's almost in some ways it's running parallel with club and country. You can sense now when he plays for the U.S., he wants that responsibility. He's ready to take on more leadership, and I think that's also translating to the club scene. Whereas maybe early on, both for club and country, a little bit more reluctant to be the guy. And now I think he wants that, which I think is another step, right? It's more of an intangible evolution in his particular game, which is obviously translating into more goals and more assists. I also will add that, man, it's great when you're healthy. I think that solves a lot of problems. And now you can really demonstrate why you're as talented as you are. So Christian Pulisic, congratulations on winning the Call It What You Want Player of the Season award. Your award's in the mail, big guy. All right.
This is a big award. This is a massive award.
This is a big one. This is a big one. It's going to be right up
there.
What kind
of trophy do we have?
It's probably one of your bobbleheads, Brian. That's probably what we're going to give him. All right, let's go to the Young Player of the Season. And we finished on Johnny Cardoso. So, Chuck, talk to us about one of the best mustached men in our national team player pool.
I mean, we saw his quality in Brazil, right? And it's always tough to gauge. What does that mean? You go far, he's playing well. I mean, Copa Libertadores semifinal. He's a big part of that team. Now you go to Europe, you're going to a big club in Real Betis. And Real Betis is one of those clubs that can compete in Europe. And, the demands of La Liga are high. And how does he compete in a match against Atletico Madrid, Barcelona, Real Madrid? These are the type of matches we want our young players in. And I think he hit the ground flying. I think he played well more than expected. and anticipated, at least on my end. I didn't expect him to come in and kind of fit in seamlessly, and he played really well. So I think from that standpoint, he earned the coach and the club's respect real quick, his teammates, and therefore I think he made a stellar move to La Liga. It's one of those moves that went right under the radar, and next thing you know, he's only elevated his status within U.S. men's national team with his performances, and I think he'll get minutes in Copa America due to how well he played this second half of the season.
Yeah, I just think that transition from Brazil to Spain can't be easy, and for him, it seemed pretty seamless. Playing for a pretty experienced manager and Manuel Pellegrini, so to earn that trust, I think remember we talked about it before when he made the move, to be able to earn that trust right away and then to maintain that really speaks volumes to his development as a player. All right, I'll take the next one. We're going to get into most improved player. Now, I don't know what other names.
Hold on a second. Are we not like talking about like if your player wasn't chosen as the player?
Well, we can if you want. Who did you want to?
No, I just thought it would be.
You want to talk snubs? Brian already wants to jump into snubs.
All right, go on, Jimmy. Go on.
Let's give the award. We'll come back to snubs.
All right.
Back to snubs. Okay, most improved player. I actually put Manuel Sabi in there just to give him some love. He played in Denmark for a long time, and then he helped Le Havre. I think that's the way to say it. France. They just got promoted. Thank you. They just got promoted to Liga, and he helped them stay there right above the relegation zone. 5 goals and an assist. I want to give him some love. Leonard Maloney at Heidenheim did the same, right? Getting the team promoted, helping them stay in the Bundesliga. I thought maybe that
I feel like you could use those as snubs.
Okay, we'll put them in the subs. But Chris Richards. Chris Richards is our most improved player, and I'm excited for him. 30 matches in all competitions, 1 goal, 1 assist. And what I loved about him was that he got playing time and got trusted once again by 2 different managers, 2 very good managers, in Roy Hodgson and then in Oliver Glasner. And I thought he really started to kind of own that space, own that position as the season went along. Those are a lot of games. The season before, he only played in 10 games. Now, I know he was hurt a lot of the previous year, and this kind of falls into Christian as well, where if you're healthy and you can demonstrate your consistency and your value game in and day, or even in training day in and day out, it goes a long way. But I don't want to overlook a defender in this particular category. So Chris Richards is my pick. And I already named some snubs. So hope you guys like that one. Most improved. Pretty good. Any honorable mentions? You guys, who else did you have?
We might as well.
I had Chris.
Yeah,
okay. Now we get to talk about it? Okay. All right. Go ahead, Charlie.
Go ahead, Charlie.
Well, for me, it was Haji Wright. I think.
Most improved. But he scored a lot of goals in Turkey. It's not like he didn't
but
come
we
from
saw
a space where he was already scoring goals. Okay.
He could score in Turkey. But we saw, even on the national team in the World Cup, I mean, it just didn't look like he had really understood what his role is in the team, and his form wasn't that great at that level. Mm-hmm. And then now all of a sudden, he's getting minute after minute playing consistently in the championship. And now, the championship level isn't the best, but playing time and playing on the left wing asked more of him. And now we saw the transition of when you do get certain playing time and you're trusted in a certain role, the transition to the U.S. men's national team, the speed of play in the Nations League, he looked like a different player. The way he was running, the way he was moving with the ball, we hadn't seen that from him prior to this. So for me, I was like, I've seen with my own eyes legit improvement, and that comes from all the playing time he got in the championship.
Okay, I can't argue against that, but he has been scoring goals at a pretty regular clip. But for him to do it in the championship, I loved his ice cold in his veins penalty that he took in the FA Cup semifinal. I thought he was very good in that particular game as well. All right, let's move on because we could talk about this ad nauseum. Best new signing, and we're going with Malik Tillman and Brian. We had to give some love to one of the PSV players, and it looks like Tillman is our nominee. Obviously, a very special season for the club overall.
Yeah, and by the way, he was my young player of the year. So just when.
All right, good. Now you get to talk about him.
Yeah. Listen, I totally get this. I actually had Serginho Dest as the best new signing. But it's right there along. I mean, both those players, they made the team of the year for Eredivisie. Huge impact. And understanding Malik as a player to see this impact is really important and impressive, because Malik he's a quiet guy. He is somebody that can look like he's not interested when he's on the field. And those things can translate to other parts of your game, can translate to your teammates. And he's come in being on loan, he was in Scotland from Bayern Munich, and now going on loan again which is now permanent to PSV. As a player, you can always run into this question mark, and you start questioning yourself. You start wondering if I'm on the right path. And he put all that behind him. He basically was able to continue his progression as a player and improvement, and not only scoring goals, but having a real impact with other players and providing assists and providing, outlets. And another player that doesn't lose the ball when you give it to him. So really happy to see the progression. Now it's, doing it for the national team, because as Charlie touched on with a different player, the speed of play is going to be the huge question mark, because it's a bit slower in Scotland. Did well. It's a little slower, and there's a lot more space in Eredivisie. You come into Copa America, you're playing against, incredibly talented players and teams, and I'd love to see him be able to continue that with the national team, because it's part of the progression as a young player, understanding the pace of play. He understands the game. He has a great mind for the game and sees a pass, but let's see it for the U.S.
All right. We saw a little bit at Nations League. I don't think he made the most of that opportunity, to use some of the words that you were saying for Alex Zendejas in particular. You got to take your chances when they come. All right, let's move on to most underrated player. In the final tally, this is a bit of a surprise for me because I didn't vote for him, but Cameron Carter-Vickers. And Charlie, did you vote for him? Because I had some other players on my list, including Tanner Tessman, who I think still a little underrated, under the radar, we should say. But talk to me about CCV. He was in your team of the season as well.
Yes, he was in my team of the season. I just think he's super underrated. I mean, I gave 3 versions of underrated. I also put Anthony Robinson there as underrated, but Cameron Carter-Vickers, I think in the World Cup, and especially when he came into that Iran game, I felt, oh man, he's finally solidified himself. He got his feet under him at this speed of play. He understood the tendencies of his teammates, and what he brings to the table is just this old school center back feeling of I'm gonna tackle you. I'm gonna leave something in the tackle. I'm gonna anticipate plays, because he's not the fastest, but this is where you got to be fast as a center back, right? And I think that's where I've seen him level up as a center back and being a consistent star at Celtic. Remember, he played on to Ange Postecoglou, and when Ange was at Celtic, he said he's the best player in Scotland. He's the best defender in Scotland. So I think from that standpoint, that's really giving him the confidence to own the back line and hold guys accountable, make sure that the back line is consistent. And so from that standpoint, I do think he's very underrated, because the Scottish League, when you're outside of Rangers and Celtic, there's a big drop off. And I think when they're not competing at the highest level every week, I mean, they got blown out of the water a couple of years ago in the Champions League group stage, but I do think that they don't get the credit that they deserve, because the league is pretty poor.
All right.
Yeah,
I respect it.
I just want to add one bit and I voted for Cameron Carter-Vickers also. The other part of his game that is really underrated is his composure and his ability to play the ball out of the back. Mm-hmm. He makes a good pass. He can be put under pressure, and he picks out the right pass. Let's hope I didn't just jinx him coming into Copa America.
1,000% jinx.
Yeah. But coming back to this,
that part of his game is very underrated.
All right. No, that's good to know. That's good insight. All right, let's get into our best goal. And I want to say this is unanimous. And I think it was really important for not only the player, but for all the fans that support this particular club. But Christian Pulisic scored a banger on his Serie A debut against Bologna. And that, I think, really sent the message that he was not messing around and that he was here to play and that he was going to be a special player for them this particular season. And I think that proved to be true. So I respect this pick a lot. I do want to say that on my list, I had Tyler Adams scored against Mexico, because that should trump basically any goal that we score over in Europe, because what a golazo that was from Tyler Adams. and I've got plenty of time for that. So Tyler Adams' goal against Mexico y nada más. All right, last one. Most versatile player. And maybe this one was unanimous. I had Weston McKennie on my list, number 1 as most versatile, because the guy can play multiple positions. And even though he didn't score a goal in Serie A this season, he had 7 assists, and he was really a main catalyst for them, especially in transition and driving the ball forward and trying to make something happen. Sometimes he's in the box, sometimes he's hitting the switch, sometimes he's hitting the cross. I just think he can do a lot, and obviously he can play a little right back as well. Charlie, who did you have? Did you have
Yeah, I had Weston as well.
All right.
It's not only can he play different positions, but he can be super impactful in multiple positions. So I think that's what you could look at player of the season as a snub for Weston. You could look at most underrated as well. There's times I feel like he's not respected in the way that he plays the game. Obviously he's just one of those players I think that has finally solidified himself in a position at Juve, which was in the middle of the park, because he can get up and down as a outside wing back, but that's not his position. He needs to be central.
All right, Brian, any thoughts on Weston McKennie moving around but still making an impact?
Yeah, I listen. He's impactful, especially coming into a season where you knew that Juventus didn't really want him, and for him to put his head down, and that's probably the biggest thing for me. Put his head down, work hard, stay fit, and have a great attitude. That part allowed him to then push on to have the impact that he had for Juventus this year. He's always been a player that if he's interested, you can give him the ball and he's not going to lose it. You can put him in the situations where defensively you have to fight, and you can count on him for all of that. It was just at times he would switch off. And this year he showed that he has the ability to stay at that high level the whole time, and I give him a lot of credit. And he deserves to be recognized, and hopefully that continues to push him on.
All right, we're done with our awards, everyone. Here at Call It What You Want, all the award winners, again, check your mailbox. They should be coming very, very soon. Brian McBride and Chicago Fire jersey bobbleheads are coming your way.
They don't have those. They don't have those. No.
Fulham? What do we got? Columbus Crew? There's got to be a bobblehead somewhere out there.
We'll send him a slew. Yes, there's a Columbus
bobblehead. It's like even better. Tall. It's harder to get. Harder to get. All right, when we come back, it's mailbag. So don't go anywhere.
We're finally back racing in Shanghai. Complex sequences in chicane and fast runs ready for overtake. Shanghai, it's on.
Welcome back to Call It What You Want. It's the time everybody's been waiting for. Mailbag questions. We've been asking you to ask us some questions. We're going to answer them, and we'll see if you like our answers or not. That's debatable. I guess we'll have to wait and see based on the question. Charlie, I'm coming to you first on this one. It's from Red Fox 7497. What's up, Red Fox? Who says, can you rate Jesse's move to Canada? Average to good or good to great? What do you say, Chuck?
Average to good. That for me is
waiting to give him a little bit, like a little jab there.
I really have. It grinds my gears just a little bit that
he's going to a rival.
Yes, it's one thing to coach, internationally and coaching in Concacaf, but this is a candidate for the U.S. men's national team job. It doesn't go your way, and then you coach Canada. So for me, that was a little bit like a
spite job.
Yeah, like no. Yeah. Well, he clearly said, he was unhappy with how things played out with the U.S. and didn't feel he was treated fairly. So if that's already in you, right, I think that the Canada job becomes much more attractive given that fallout happened.
A little juice.
We were on the show together for a while, and you could get a sense that he wanted to manage in Europe, and that chapter wasn't closed. But it felt like the more time went on And, he understood, wow, this is kind of nice just doing media thing and national team job too. It's not as hands-on as you would be with a club management job that, maybe Europe was not the route that he wanted to continue down. So he took the Canada job and he gets to manage in a World Cup.
All right, let's take a look at his initial roster. Jesse Marsch's first ever roster for Canada. A lot of names on there. They're taking on Netherlands and they're taking on France in the upcoming friendlies here in early June. Brian, one of the things that Jesse had spoke about was maybe a little bit thin in the center back area. He loves, not that he doesn't love the players that are there. I don't want to put words in his mouth there, but just they maybe lack a little bit of depth in the center back spot. But I like Moise Bombito. He plays the Colorado Rapids under Chris Armas. So Jesse and Chris are very close. They're going to get some good insight on how they can help each other, continue to help him grow as a center back. They have the players there, but I wonder are they capable of playing the way that Jesse wants to play? And so I guess I throw that now over to you, Brian.
Yeah, no, I think they're capable, and you touched on the center back position because he touched on it, and I think it's very straightforward. And for a team to play like how Jesse has set up his teams to press and have a high line, there's not a lot of pace at the center back position. So if you're asking your wing backs to push up and your fullbacks to push up, you're gonna more often than not go 1v1 or 2v2 on the back line. You need pace in there. The one thing that I will say is you have the ability from the midfield up to play Jesse's way of playing, or at least how he did before, because you have commitment. You have players that are smart, that can press, that will work for each other. So this is going to be a really interesting, Copa America for them. There's going to be some questions asked that a lot of teams in Concacaf can't ask of Canada, and so the one thing that Canada always had was this commitment together, and they played, extremely well as a group. So if Jesse can continue that and then add in a few different things, they can definitely push on, because there's talent and there's players that can win games for you, and you have different options. On the front line there, you can say, hey, we're just going to play it long. Kyle Larin, hold the ball up. Jonathan David can run off, or you can actually win balls at better positions and catch them with pace. Alphonso Davies is a special player, as everybody knows. That's not me saying that something people don't know. And when you have certain things in your team, you can definitely cause other people a lot of problems. The biggest question mark is, can you have a high line and go 1v1 or 2v2 in the back line with the lack of pace as a center back position? Because physicality, they have it. They probably are the most physically dominant team in CONCACAF, but that doesn't mean much if you can't track players down that are running.
Yeah, I agree with you, Brian. I think there's some adaptability that needs to happen, and they're going to find it out really quick, right? What's that famous Mike Tyson quote? Everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face. And I think Jesse's going to have a plan. I think I could see it working for 15, 20 minutes against the Netherlands and France. And then all of a sudden, when those two teams in particular get a grip of the game and you can't high press anymore, what does that look like under Jesse? That's
been the question of his whole coaching career.
I get it.
It's one thing to press and be aggressive in the gegenpress and yada yada, and it's all roses, but you can't do that for 90 minutes. So how are you possessing? How are you keeping control of the tempo? Because that's essential. You're going crazy like crazy. Eventually, you want to settle and control the tempo. And then you can get back to going into aggressive presses in certain parts of the field.
There's certain cues.
Right? Yeah. But that's the evolution of the game, because trust me, even as a player, as a striker, you're like, okay, we're pressing, I'm working my butt off. we turn it over. Now I'm on the wing because we just pressed. I want to be central. I want to be in the box scoring goals. So there's a lot to it. And then to build off of the Canada job, it's either a 3-4-3 or a 3-5-2 with this group. That's what we've seen with given the players that they have. They are elite when it comes to counterattack because of the pace. When you throw in Alphonso Davies and Tajon Buchanan, that is elite, world-class counter-pressing team. Then you throw in Jonathan David in front of goal. You could play with the two strikers, Kyle Aaron and Jonathan David. We've seen that it's worked, and you have Alphonso Davies and Tajon out wide. You also have Richie Larea, who can be a very consistent outside wing back in international football, just on the way he gets up and down. So they do have pace. And then I think the center backs at 3, pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
And you got to figure out who that center guy is, right? I think Alistair Johnson's a very capable right center back, even though he's a right back traditionally, but he's done really well in Canada because
he's got pace too.
He's got pace, and I think he's stepped up his performances with Celtic. And then in that left center back role, Kamal Miller, I think he's done well enough. And so you got to figure out who that center back is. Goalkeeping has been up and down for them, but ultimately, how is Jesse going to build off of where they were in the 2022 World Cup qualifying campaign?
Welcome to the new Canadian men's national team podcast. Call it what you want, eh?
Hey,
go ahead, Brian.
Yeah,
no, I was just going to say, and that's why I think, and listen, Jesse's a good coach. He's going to be adaptable. He's not going to press all the time, and that's why Canada has the ability to sit back. We've seen it in qualifying. I saw it firsthand. They can absorb pressure and hit you. And that especially in Copa America, against better teams, is a quality you have to have if you're going to succeed. So it'll be fun to see, though. It'll be good summer for Jess.
All right, now let's pivot back to the U.S. men's national team. This is from one of our favorite producers from the Ted Lasso show, Chip Hamilton, who is a loyal listener. What's up, Chip? He has a 3-parter, and they all blend into each other. But the first one is, if you had to drop 3 names from the June camp roster, who would each of you pick? I'll go early. I'll say Shaq Moore. Who would you replace them with? I would be Ricardo Pepi, because that could be one of the 3 that you drop and you just keep him on. And then which player will Greg Berhalter ultimately cut for Copa America? And I think that'll depend on the ankle of Josh Sargent. Those are my 3 answers. But Chuck, I'm coming to you. If you can answer all 3 of these, what are you going with? Drop 3 names from the June camp.
3 names.
Well, I guess at 1 each. I had Shaq Moore. I took dibs on Shaq Moore.
Yeah. Based on last week's show, that was not a surprise, Jimmy.
Yeah, real tough there, Jim. You went out on a limb.
Thank you.
I'll make it easy and I'll go Timothy Tillman.
All right. And then who would you replace them with if you had a chance? Is there a player that you would consider replacing?
That's not at all. Who's the player that you replace them with?
Ultimately, you have Zendejas would be one that you could potentially bring in. That's not currently. You could bring a Brandon Vasquez in and drop somebody else into midfield. In terms of roster, you can think about it. Brian, how about you?
You're gonna add another forward.
Why not? I
mean, let's be honest. You're a defender. What is going on with you?
We got it all settled in the back. It's all good. Plus McKinney or Weah can play out wide for Dest. It's not a.
Yeah, you got to bring in somebody who's not there, who's not at all in the camp, Jimmy.
Yeah,
you're taking off 2 players that are defensive in the midfield, and you're throwing in a striker.
Yeah, because I want. Who
are you throwing in as a defender? Who's your center back?
I want Brian to answer the question first.
Jimmy's got to look something up.
I got to look something up.
Yeah, get to work, Jim. Start scrolling.
I'm not scrolling. I'll bring in Tessman then. It's fine.
It's a great question. And why I say that is because not only can you work through the process of dropping players, but then who do you bring in? Knowing there's the Olympics, because you're not going to bring a player in that.
Well, it's just a camp. It's just a camp, so you can bring in a player for the camp and not bring him to Copa America and then bring.
Okay, so that's the question.
So if I'm taking Shaq Moore off, I'm bringing Brian Reynolds on. Easy done. And I think seeing him compete in that under-23 game against France, I was like, oh my God, that's a player who's made a lot of improvement in the past year. So for me, that's an easy one. If you're taking Tillman off, then, also I loved Maximilian Dietz in that game. I would have brought him in as a center back. I'd like to see what he looks like with the full team. But in the midfield, Tessman probably has made the biggest improvement.
Tessman has to come in for Tillman if you're talking about it. He's the captain of the U.S. Olympic team right now. Whether that changes when you bring in the overage players, we'll see. But someone that is a leader, you can trust him. You've shown the growth for sure. Somebody that you could see. So you guys have dropped everybody but a forward, right? So Haji's going to take it on the chin again. This is not. I would drop Haji because then I want him to get some rest before you know my play, because I want Haji to go to the Olympics. I think he needs to be able to be there for that part of the game, because he's different than the U23s that the U23s have in their arsenal of forwards. And who do I bring in for Haji? That's another question.
Zendejas is an option for you if you wanted it.
No, I don't think that's the player I would like.
That's fair.
Yeah, I'd bring in Brendan. We talked about it last week. I think that's a good addition to the group as a different style of player.
All right. I respect it. All right. Keep it on the U.S. men's national team front. This is a little bit more personal to all three of us. Chuck, I'll come to you first. If you could give one of your national team caps to another player who never got capped, who would it be? And a shout out to Gordo 6366 for the
Great
11th
question.
support. We appreciate you. Yeah.
Wow.
And so, Chuck, do you have somebody that?
Who would I give my caps to?
Just one cap to another player that. You don't have to give all of them. Just one.
Okay.
That sounds very personal to you.
Yeah.
I was like, hold the hell on. If I had to give one cap to a player who never received a cap.
Yeah.
Ooh. Man.
If you want to think, I'm good.
I've got one too. So
go ahead, Brian. Go ahead.
Shane Battelle. He a teammate of mine at the Columbus Crew, but more importantly, at SLU. He was, before I became a professional, he was the best player I'd ever seen and the best player I'd ever played with. Goes to the Columbus Crew, does his PCL in the first year and can't come back. So posterior cruciate ligament, for people who are wondering what that is, and tries to work through it just by strengthening, then get surgery and can't come out of it. But he is and was a player that would have had many caps, multiple caps. So, he played in the same midfield as Mike Sorber at SLU with our team. And I love Mike, but Shane was better. Just this player who could do anything on the field. So shout out to Shane.
That's a good shout out.
Yeah.
I like that one. I've got two, and one is Jack Jewsbury. So I'll just say the one cap. I played with him for 8 years.
Okay, but he had a cap.
No, he came into camp but never got a cap.
Oh,
so he
really?
got one camp in his whole career.
And I was in that camp.
And he didn't get a cap. I just thought he was so solid in so many different ways and underrated. And I played 8 years with him in Kansas City. Then he went on and had great success with the Portland Timbers as well. And just one of those guys that maybe fell through the cracks, wasn't valued as highly as he should have been, but a good player that just connects the dots, no matter what position he played. And then I want to give a shout out to Chris Armas, because I lived through one of this in a World Cup cycle. I'd give up one of my 2 World Cup appearances to Chris because he got hurt before both World Cups in 2002 and 2006. And I feel like if he had played, the team would have been better off because of it.
Oh,
not saying we would have gotten any farther, but
thanks for sharing.
What? I just thought that was a nice.
You couldn't pass me a World Cup.
I guess I could have. Yeah, sorry.
No, it's all good.
Was that part of the question? I don't think.
No, it wasn't. I was throwing it in there because
I want to throw it in. He just wants to give roses. Give roses to everybody. Why don't you just give roses to everybody?
You want to?
I'm going to give my other one to Chuku over here. Chuku Davies.
Thank you. No, I think I would have given my cap to Brendan McDonald. I I got a chance to BMAC. I got a chance to play with him. First met him in the McDonald's All-American in high school, the McDonald's All-Americans game at the Home Depot Center in LA. And then we got to play together at DC United. And so I think he was one player who, he played on that a developmental contract in LA with Beckham. I mean, he was making $11,000 playing with David Beckham, and earned a starting spot and played really well. And I think, he's a great locker room guy. That's one player I would have given my cap to. And if it wasn't him, I would have given it to my brother. I would have loved for him to get that experience and see how, what it did for him and his career, his young career.
Giving flowers out to everybody, giving roses to everybody.
My brother and Brendan McDonald is two. That's it.
I love it. All right, last question, because we get to answer a whole bunch of these, and we really appreciate everybody sending them in. If we didn't get to it, we can hopefully get to it in a future episode. Last one's from Stephen Barson. Past or present, Brian McBride. Oh, name one manager you wish you could have played for and why.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Last one.
Wow, that's
who'd you play for at Fulham? Was it Hodgson?
Yeah, Roy was the last one.
The last one.
He had a few.
Chris, yeah, easy, Charlie. Chris Coleman brought me to Fulham.
Oh, Cookie Coleman. Yeah.
Cookie was one of those guys. It was the first time I really realized what man management was, and had the ability to keep all 28 of the first team players happy, and was accountable. Like if you had an issue, you could talk to him, and that part showed me really the depth of what managing a top flight team is. All right, and I'm not saying that the others weren't, but this was Cookie was a manager rather than the coach side of it. Who would I like to play for? That's a
Chuck.
good
You know somebody?
Go on, Chuck.
I got mine. Jurgen Klopp. I think Jurgen Klopp would have been. There's always the Pep Guardiolas, and he's going to make you a better player and understand spacing and have you play at a whole nother level. But I think Jurgen Klopp, because he was such a man manager, but he was also, I think, demanding, and the style of play, I think it favors strikers in the way that he sets up his team. So I think Jurgen Klopp would have been a fantastic manager to play for.
Yeah, I love that shout. There's one from a defensive perspective. I would have loved to have played for Arrigo Sacchi, who coached Milan back in the day when they had Maldini, and man, they were so good. And just the way that he set up his teams to have success in every situation. And then Carlo Ancelotti would be another one that I would, very similar to you, Chuck, just like get a little taste of what that looked like behind the curtain. I mean, this guy's had tremendous success, but he seems like he's one of the guys, and they all love playing for him. And I'd like to see what that magic looked like up close. But yeah, McBrizzle, your turn.
All right. So it's a difficult question because there's all these great managers, right? But probably Diego Simeone. I think I would have really enjoyed playing for him because sets up his team really well, but the commitment of all his players, like he won't bring in a player that won't work for him, and I enjoy that part. I understand how important that is to success, and you'd love to see a passionate manager, and he's that. So he may not be the most offensive, but I never mind working and working for the team. So I'd say Diego Simeone.
Wow, Sir Alex Ferguson getting snubbed by all three of us here. It seemed like an easy choice. Obviously, Pep, Jose Mourinho,
Arsene
Wenger. I'm sure there's a whole bunch of people listening and watching and going, what? Why wouldn't you name 10 other managers? But there's clearly something about specific managers that are speaking to us. And Diego Simeone, a bit of a surprise, Brian, but I love it because I'm an Atleti supporter in La Liga. All right, that's it. We're calling it a show. It's done. It's dusted. Call it what you want.
I like these mailbag shows. The questions coming in.
Good ones too, because we get to lean on different types of experiences that maybe we don't get to share when we're just doing.
I would have liked to play Ancelotti though. Light up a cigar after winning with him. That would be nice.
Yeah. I also want to give a shout out to Life of Bry. He's been a loyal follower of us from a long time. He had a pay to play question, and we could have a whole episode about pay to play in the United States, so we might have to do that in the future. Maybe we can bring in some people that are in the trenches in a meaningful way that can talk about it from their perspective as well. Just throwing it out there for the producers. All right, that's it. We're done. Thank you so much, everybody, for all your support as always. We'll see you very, very soon. Later.